Malaysia's second quarter GDP contracted by 17.1%, mainly due to the movement control order enforced during the quarter to stem the spread of COVID-19. According to Bank Negara, the contraction was the lowest growth ever recorded by the nation since the 11.2% contraction recorded for the fourth quarter of 1998, when the region was in the thick of the Asian financial crisis. For comparison, first quarter 2020 GDP growth was 4.5%. BNM has also revised its official GDP growth forecast for 2020 to between minus 3.5 and 5.5%, mainly due to changes in world growth forecasts and the unprecedented length of the MCO and its subsequent iterations. The central bank had previously forecasted growth of between minus 2% and 0.5% for this year. Governor Datuk Nur Syamsiah Muhammad Yunos says the pandemic has had a larger than anticipated adverse impact and that the recovery will be much more gradual. She explains that the 2Q contraction is likely a trough and therefore the economy is poised for gradual recovery in the second half and is expected to rebound further in 2021. BNM is forecasting a growth range of between 5.5 and 8% for 2021, underpinned by improvements in external conditions and gradual normalization in economic activities and labour market. In addition, Syamsiah says there is still room for additional targeted policy measures should there be a second COVID-19 wave, which should allow Malaysia's economy to endure. The High Court has fixed September 29 to hear the appeal of former Supermax Corp Group MD Datuk Sri Stanley Tai Kim Sim and former Remisier Tiong Kiong Chun, who had each been sentenced for insider trading related to APL Industries. Tai was also formerly APLI's CEO. To recap, on November 24, 2017, the Sessions Court convicted Tai and Tiong of insider trading offences according to a Securities Commission statement. Tai was sentenced to a 5-year jail term and fined 5 million, while Tiong was sentenced to 5 years jail and fined 10 million. Tai was convicted of communicating non-public information in 2007 to Tiong. Tiong was convicted of 2 counts of disposing of 6.21 million APLI shares while in possession of that information. The information in question was Tai telling Tiong that APLI would be reporting a higher loss for FY07 and its subsequent PN17 classification. Carlsberg Malaysia's second quarter net profit plunged 83.7% to 10.65 million as pandemic-driven lockdowns curtailed production and sales. This is the brewer's weakest quarter since the second quarter of FY09. Carlsberg also recognised a one-off 6.4 million settlement with the Royal Malaysian Customs Department with regard to a bill of demand of excise duties. Revenue dropped 40.2% to 287.3 million from 480.5 million ringgit. No dividend was declared for the quarter. For the first half of FY20, net profit fell 46.02% to 84.6 million, while revenue sank 23.1% to 877.2 million from 1.14 billion the year before. MD Stefano Clini says business recovery will be slow over the next few months, and as a result, the group will continue to optimize its costs aggressively and reallocate investments. With all these strategies in place, he says they are hopeful the group will be able to sustain an acceptable performance until such a time that the COVID-19 pandemic is overcome. Heineken Malaysia says that while business has gradually improved due to the easing of the movement control order, the brewer is not out of the woods yet. MD Roland Bala says that for 2020, business got worse with the pandemic, which affected consumer sentiment. He adds that Heineken continues to be cautious because the total impact from COVID-19 remains an unknown, and as such, the company needs to stay prudent in running the business. Heineken recently reported a net loss of 18.2 million for the second quarter. According to Roland, the group witnessed a recovery in terms of sales performance in May and June compared with April. Even so, he expects the current weaker economic conditions and consumer sentiment to weigh on its business prospects. MRCB Quill REIT's net profit for the second quarter rose 16% to 19.1 million on the back of higher revenue from Menara Shell, Wisma Technip, Platinum Central and Tesco. Revenue for the quarter improved slightly from 39.2 million previously to 40.6 million ringgit. For 6 months ended June, net profit rose to 38.9 million from 35.9 million the year before, while revenue improved 2.4% to 82.8 million ringgit. MQ REIT declared a distribution income of 36.8 million and income distribution per unit of 3.43 cent for the first half of 2020. MRCB Quill Management CEO Su-lin says the REIT is confident that the trust will ride out this down cycle with its continued focus on cost management, tenant retention and optimization of rental contribution. She says they've been engaging with key strategic tenants on lease renewals well ahead of lease expiry in anticipation of early lease renewals for some leases.